I just want to do something different.
Succeeded in that. That was different. Okay, cool.
But welcome on in, everyone. Welcome. We're completely sane here. We're so stupid. But welcome on in, everyone, to another episode of Hot Mess Moments, the epic finale.
My hair is so long.
Of The Nanny. Oh, it is. No, it is. It's fierce. I'm loving this hair.
It's so funny because like I started going as like a joke, and I still do it as a joke, but I do it so often that I feel like it's not a joke anymore.
I feel like people don't realize how much Trixieisms. Bless you. And when I say Trixieisms, I mean Trixie just popularizing a phrase that's already popular, but like Trixie's impact on our culture.
I have
making the white gays say things that other people have been saying for years.
Yeah. Wow. You know what I love is like if it's reached white women, then you know that it's no longer cool to say. Like, because white women steal it from white gay men. White gay men steal it from
black gay men.
Black gay men or black people in general. Yeah. And yeah, this is some deep shit for Hot Mess Moments. All because I went,
Yeah. Like we're dissecting it, girl. We're dissecting it.
Something like that. Well, I'm excited to dissect what I consider to be one of my favorite episodes of The Nanny. And it is the last episode of The Nanny season 1. So we'll chat a little bit about that and some of our impressions. And I'll cry again because Dylan can attest, even though I've seen this episode countless times, including a week ago, I watched it because I couldn't wait. And I cry every time. Every time.
Yeah, it was so cute though. Well, we'll get into my feelings, but first, welcome everyone. This is Hot Mess Moments.
Important.
My name is Dylan Zahner, also known as 8-Bit Dylan online, and my co-host is...
I'm Beth Dixon, also known as Augusta Wind 11 online. If you're new to our show, first of all, you were joining us at the end of season 1, so we invite you to go back and re-listen to all of our episodes leading up to this so that you can hear just how horribly we butcher things. Words, phrases, sounds in general. No, but seriously, The Nanny is my all-time favorite show, but Dylan hasn't seen it. But I haven't seen his all-time favorite show, which is Lost. So we are towards the end of both of those, actually covering the last episode of season 1 of The Nanny tonight. And then next week, we're going to discuss the last 3 episodes of season 1 of Lost. And so...
It's going to be juicy.
Happening. It's going to be juicy.
You got juicy episode after juicy episode after juicy episode. Ow, what happened there?
I was just going to say, you look scratched.
Yeah, it's the dog.
Oh, yeah. I figured.
Dog did that today.
Both of them?
Yeah.
How?
I rough house with my dog. Yeah.
With his claws?
We need to clip his claws. They're getting too long.
Yeah.
This episode, though, in particular, it's a momentous occasion for us because we started this 15 years ago and we have finally hit this end of one of the show's seasons.
It's pretty, what's going to be great is like, I'm pretty sure moving forward, we'll probably be ahead in Lost than we are in The Nanny because there's more Lost episodes altogether.
So we're going to be more ahead in The Nanny then.
Nope. We're going to be more. I think we're going to get to a point where we are farther ahead in the seasons in Lost because I think Lost has less episodes than the next seasons of The Nanny.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it'll be interesting. But it's going to, I don't know. Like, I'm really excited. I've been totally hooked on Lost. I can't tell you how often I've tried to be like, well, I could look up information about this episode that I've watched. And then I'm like, no, because somebody will be like,
yep.
In the future, this ties back to this episode. So I haven't. But there have been so many times when I wanted to be like, okay, like, why did Boone's character really die? Like, was it a contract thing? Was it because of it? Like, those are the things, but I'm like, I can't. So going at a glacial speed in the days of binge watching stuff has been absolute torture, but also a wonderful exercise in self-control. Because if I can't do it in any other portion of my life, at least I could do it with television.
And only in Lost, because the nanny, you're still watching it every single day, like multiple episodes a day. We love that.
I just finished the series yesterday.
Again?
Yeah.
Are you starting from season 1 again? Are you going to work your way through? Or are you just going to start?
No, full disclosure, season 1's my least favorite season. I rarely go back and watch these episodes, which is why it's actually been quite a treat for me to watch them with you as somebody who's newer to them, because then I can sit back and go like, I have to appreciate these with fresh eyes, or it could be like, see, I knew this episode was lame in my head. But in season 2 starts off like, just kind of at the same pace, but eventually they like really find their stride about a third of the way into season 2, and they're solid episodes. I went through and I was like, season 3 is really good. Season 4 is by far the best season. It is just by far the best season. Season 5, super solid. Season 6 is also just really great. It's just different, but I love it so much. Like, okay. It's so good.
I'm excited now. Okay, so let's just get into it because we have a lot to talk about with these episodes. So we are going to now cover the season finale of season 1 of The Nanny. Episode 21. 22. I don't remember, or 22, sorry.
Is it 22?
It is 22.
Okay.
I don't remember Mama.
She had style, she had flair, she was there. That's how she became the nanny.
I remember Mama, though, and she was sickening, honey.
Oh my God. Tell me more.
Sarah came out in that short mini skirt, that crop top that shows a little bit of underboob, that like it stops right at the nipple. And Sarah came out.
Sorry, no, honey. You're talking about Sonique from season 6. Sorry, honey. I know they look exactly the same.
Isn't Sonique the mother of Maxwell's kid?
I'm here for this remake, and there have been talks about. I mean, I know that Fran Drescher's currently writing whatever the Broadway show of The Nanny is going to be, but you better believe if there is, and I'd be like, could Sonique play Mama? Because I'm here for it.
I'm here. Sign her up as Sarah. So speaking of mothers, this episode is all about Mama. It's all about mothers. My prediction for what I thought this episode was going to be about was a complete flop. But this ended up being such a better product. My overall thoughts on this episode is I would rate this, I think for emotional value, a 10 out of 10 for sure. Like, I think like it paid its dividends in emotional storytelling. So obviously I'm going to give this a 10 out of 10. It moved the plot forward. It was really great. I had a lot of good funny moments, but it made up for there weren't as many funny moments, but the moments that weren't funny were like impactful to the story. So like it made up for it. And I kind of hope that there's more episodes like this in the future, because it was a nice change of pace from a normal nanny episode, which is just like one-liner, which is great. I love those episodes, but it's nice to get a little bit of variety.
And there were definitely some one-liners in this. Fran gets shady, which is great. But I definitely, I totally agree. This is not, when I tell people this is one of my top 10 favorite episodes, and actually what I did yesterday before we watched it together, I went through all the episodes in The Nanny. And I was like, if I had to choose what my favorite ones were, I was like, you know what? I really need to narrow it down to like, let's say 2 episodes per season. And then I can kind of objectively look at, well, the 2 episodes I like for season 2 are nowhere near the much I like for season 4 or whatever. Right. And consistently, this one always is one of the ones I think about the most. And it's because of this sentimental, like difference in pace. There's still some fun moments, but like you said, there's a lot of character growth development. There's some backstory that we haven't gotten yet that you've been asking questions about all season long. And we get some of those answers. And then the other part of this too, that I think is like really impactful. And I know that you're going to talk about this, but just to set it up, this episode, in my opinion, is the best acting of all the kids.
For sure. Like hands down, no questions asked. I think the one slight I have about this episode is I really wish it wasn't the season finale. I agree. I really think the episode before this is a better send-off for season 1 than this episode. I think this episode is great, but I think this episode is, if I were to watch this episode before the last episode, I think the last episode would have been even more impactful.
I totally agree with you. I was actually going to bring that same thing up and say, like, after really talking to you about, like, oh, my theory about why this one is maybe not so much. I actually think the reason why this episode ended up being the series finale is thinking about timeline. This would have been around the time the series finale would have happened, is always around Mother's Day around this time.
That makes sense.
So I think my theory was probably correct, that they wrote Franny's Choice, the episode that we covered last week, as the finale, but then looked at the calendar and went, or we could end this on a Mother's Day note, and it's still a strong, nice wrap up.
Got it.
So
Okay.
I imagine that's probably what happened. And actually, just to be super like nerd-like, I'm actually going to look up when Mother's Day.
Well, I
1994
don't know
is.
if you know, I know a little bit of background on this episode.
Okay.
So Ian Somerhalder from Lost was actually in the audience, and his little boonie hole is what actually caused them to have to. I just wanted to say boonie hole. That's the only reason I said that.
Believe me, I know that he's like no longer going to be on the show, but you better believe I'm gonna bring up that boonie hole whenever I can.
Boonie hole.
That boonie hole.
We tried to make. Sorry, we're talking about Lost during the nanny, but like,
yeah, how dare we?
we
it's our own show.
tried to make the monster, the dog making the noise. That didn't really take off, but boonie hole, mama, that's here to stay.
It's a boonie hole. You can't get rid of it.
You can't.
Okay, so Sunday, May 8th in 1994 was Mother's Day. Now I'm just going to look up when this episode aired. Because I imagine maybe it was like the Monday afterwards, because I think they were on Mondays.
Yeah,
May 16th.
Okay, so it's around the same time. Yeah.
Oh, wow. There was a whole month between Franny's Choice and I Don't Remember Mama when they aired.
That's so weird. That's such a weird choice.
But it goes in line with the first theory I had last week, which was, remember when I talked about how Danny Davis, who plays Niles, a few months ago came out with that interview where he basically was like, every episode we didn't know if we were going to have another one. Yep. So they probably wrote Franny's Choice and were like, we're done. And then the network was probably like, write another one for like, you know what I mean? So I actually think maybe that was it. And because Mother's Day was coming up, they were like, well, we need to write about what this family would go through on Mother's Day. And this is now my theory. I'm going to pretend like that is canon in fact.
You know what? I think going forward, if ever someone listens to this and is like, oh my God, what are your thoughts on The Nanny? I'm going to tell them to watch Franny's Choice as the finale. Okay. And I think I'm going to myself switch them, because I truly think if you watch this episode that we're reviewing today before Franny's Choice, it has so much more emotional impact to it, because Gracie and Fran have this relationship that is much more set in stone.
I would also say that this episode contextualizes some of the things that we were like, ooh, we don't think this is healthy as a relationship and such.
Oh, yes. Oh, girl, that's like the only saving grace for why this is a finale, because it ties up loose ends for Gracie's story so well. Mm-hmm. So if you go back to several of the episodes in the past that were Gracie-centric, I called them out. I was like, this is so unhealthy. Why are they pretending that the mother doesn't exist? Why is like Gracie just calling Fran her mother? Like, this is very like red flag behavior. This is not normal. But it all makes sense once you hit this episode, because you find out she doesn't remember her mother. It
was so hard to keep all of that in, because I wanted to be like, well, because the big quote unquote plot point of this is the fact that Maxwell is so scared of upsetting his children, but mostly I think he's really scared of opening himself up.
For sure,
about that we don't get the clarity of when does Sarah die, but we have enough of the clarity to know Gracie was super young, like had to have been a toddler. And I will be honest, we actually never find out in this series. This is as close as we get.
I think it's better to
agree.
not know.
Because my theory on it is, okay, Gracie must have been, let's say, 3 or 4, like knew who her mother was, but doesn't really remember much about her, right? Because you really start to develop memories around the age of 3 and 4. Like you might have some like blips of things in your mind, but like most people aren't going to remember when I was 1, like when I was 2.
I do have one very early memory and I don't know why. Yeah. Like we could keep going the story. I'll tell my story after.
No. But the only reason why I think that is like, I think pretty much, so we know that in the beginning of the season, we have a 14-year-old, a 10-year-old, and then we have a 7-year-old. Okay. Or 6-year-old. 6-year-old, and then she's 7 about halfway through the series. Or the season. So we know that there's a 4-year age gap between the first 2, and then about like another 4 between the Brighton and Gracie. So if the mother died when, let's say, Gracie was 3, Brighton would have been 7, and Maggie would have been 11. And it makes much more sense for a 7-year-old and an 11-year-old to really think about these things. And I love there's a part in this, and I know that we're not doing our normal kind of like structure for covering the nanny at this point. But I do love there's a moment where Fran asks, it's like the first time that she's really asked them, what was your mother like? And you have this moment where Brighton and Maggie are kind of reminiscing.
They light up.
They light up, and you see them like interact and talk with each other in like the things that an 11-year-old girl would have looked up to her mother about, like, oh, she was so pretty. Like those kind of things come out. And then like Brighton's like, oh, she had the best sense of humor, which is like what Brighton is known for. So like
for sure.
So I love that we have these two things that clearly Maggie and Brighton were looking for in a motherly figure and have manifested themselves up as Fran. You get that moment of the two of them being like, this was my favorite part about my mom. Like, this is what I think about. And like a 7-year-old boy is going to love the fact that his mom was funny. Like an 11-year-old girl is going to love the fact that her mom was beautiful and that she was looking forward to like blossoming into her mother, you know, like that kind of thing.
For sure.
The 3-year-old's probably not going to remember. So that's like my theory on it. But that's why I love this episode so much.
I think you're completely wrong. No, I'm kidding.
Go.
Actually, Brighton and Maggie hate their mother, and they want to spit on her corpse.
They killed her.
That's how she died. They killed her. They buried the body in the back. But I really love this episode a lot, and I think like it's. Let's go over the general plot first. I think we're going to go down a rabbit hole, and we're just going to keep talking about what we loved about this. So it's a Mother's Day episode, and the general concept of this episode. And then we can talk about some of our favorite moments. The general concept of this episode is that Maxwell signs up for a country club. Mm-hmm. The family goes to the country club, and there is a mother-daughter pageant that is happening. And on Mother's Day. And Fran has been egging on Maxwell to talk about Sarah because it's very weird that Mother's Day is a day that Maxwell tries to distract the kids as opposed to celebrate their mother. And like the passing of their mother and like the memories of their mother. So they're at this country club, and Fran tries to convince Maxwell to let Gracie do the pageant with her because Fran has experience in pageants, because Sylvia obviously seems like a pageant mom, would have taken Miss Jersey 2018 or no 2018. You know what I mean? Miss Jersey.
I need to go back to whatever that accent was that you tried.
I don't know.
It actually sounded like you said jizz.
Miss Jizzy. Miss Jizzy. Could you imagine a pageant like that? I bet you would exist. I bet you.
I bet it's got to be a drag pageant.
I would think it'd be a porn pageant.
There's a difference? I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Wow. All my drag fans.
All your drag fans? I love that Beth just has mountains of fans of her drag. I love your drag. I love your St. Lawrence drag shirt.
No. Like as if drag queens are a fan of me. That's what I meant. Like my fans who are drag queens or drag artists.
I took it as like you're this like world famous drag queen. My name is Augusta Wind.
I have
And Mama,
name.
I'm blowing out the competition.
Their backs.
I'm blowing out their backs. things that you think a demisexual would never say.
But then I come and surprise you, right? I'm sorry. I'm playing with my hair.
I
Look
love
at the
it.
height. Look at the height on this.
Chat for or chat. Like it's the Twitch stream. For those that are on audio only, she's completely bald.
Could you imagine? This
Messy.
is no wig. This is
This is
super
my
soft though today.
Yeah, it's looking fierce. I'm kind of jealous, to be honest.
Well, listen, you could move to Brooklyn and see it in person. Just saying.
Oh my God, pay me more. Hot Mess Moments Patreon win. Give us money.
Could you imagine?
No. I already had. I like that this is low pressure. You add
Same.
money to the equation, that becomes high pressure, girl, and I don't want that.
No. But I will say, I will put out money to interview Fran Drescher, Charles Shaughnessy, that kind of thing. But in terms of making money off of this is not what I do this for.
Yeah, I do this because we're stupid, and I just like talking.
I want to talk to you and be stupid, but then also talk about two of our favorite things. Like that's the whole point of the show.
Totally. So they do this mother-daughter pageant, and there's like hilarity that ensues, and we'll talk about some of our favorite moments of this because I think that is the best way to break this down, because obviously the punchline at the very end is that sentimental moment. I want to talk about the outfits because I think the fashion this episode is top notch. Some beautiful outfits that I want to call out are the magician's assistant outfit that Fran wears, which is gorgeous. The rainbow face dress that she wears that I think is super cute. I had such a hard time finding or picking the outfit of the episode, but I think, and you're probably not going to agree with me on this, my outfit of the episode is her country club rhinestone dress that she wears. She has these shoulder pads that are rhinestoned.
Is this when they first go to the country club?
Yeah. I don't know why.
It's
something
almost
about
like
rhinestones.
A military jacket with rhinestones and high shoulders. Yeah. It's so
I
cute.
liked it because it was so different from what we've seen Fran wear in the past that I was like, oh my God, versatility, work queen. And I really liked it.
The quintessential Fran Fine look is a mini skirt, typically tights or stockings, normally black. Yeah. And either some kind of 60s top, or like a mod dress that's like really short. But a lot of times what she will do is wear some kind of what looks like it's a part of a suit jacket, like top and bottom, but it's a mini skirt. And instead of like what normal people would wear to work at, she's like hiking it up a little bit. It's a little tailored differently. But a lot of the things that she wears are blouses and jackets that are like in style, but are like no one's wearing that. And that's what I think is what makes her so cool. And there's all these people on TikTok who are like, I work at a thrift store, and so I'm going to put together my best like Fran Fine inspired thrift store outfit. And it's amazing. Like people can come up with it like so easily.
That's amazing.
And I just love it so much. But this episode
had a weird thought.
Amalgamates it.
So I can't this year because I've already bought mine. But wouldn't it be amazing if next year that for Halloween, I went as Fran Fine and you went as someone from Lost?
I'll be Kate.
You did it. Oh my God. You did it a year early. You're so good. For those who don't know, Beth just looked like she didn't know what was happening. Literally.
Oh man.
But that is my outfit of the episode, that rhinestone dress. I literally though almost gave it to Barbie. That pink power pussy suit. I think her name's Barbie Joe.
So there's Betty Joe.
It's Betty Joe. I wrote Barbie in my notes.
I was like, the doll that she's like brushing the hair off of. Like,
yes, icon.
I love it. Sinead O'Connor realness. I loved that reference to Sinead O'Connor, because I think this would have been right before her whole SNL.
Yeah, I think so.
Concert performance. Which I'm here for. Call out the Catholic Church. She did it
Honestly,
before it was in style, and I'm here for it.
she really did. Honestly, there was no reason for her to get canceled.
She
over that.
ripped a picture of the Pope. There were people with guns shooting each other. I think there's a bigger evil here.
Agreed.
Also, a lot of fucking people in the Catholic Church have raped people. So let's.
Yeah, her ripping up a photo, which is not the actual person. I think you're okay. No, but for this episode, like I said, I think it's best that we just talk about our favorite moments. So I really loved Betty Jo this episode. I thought she was hilarious as the antagonist, and her little daughter did such a good job of replicating that evil. Something about the Fran and its evil children is so good.
It's what I love are these moments where you're like, Fran is about to get challenged by another woman who's like strong in her demeanor and disposition, and like bring it on.
And there's usually a class difference between the two,
totally.
which is better.
Totally. And what's so good about this is like in so many shows, and this continues now, but like especially at the time, like it was always about people glamorizing what it meant to be richer and such. So this is probably one of the first times, along with shows like Roseanne, and that kind of thing, where you are like, yeah, you better step off, rich bitch. Like, you know what I mean? Like people were like, oh, I love these families that are so rich and like inexplicably can afford these nice houses, like in Full House. Like, how can they afford a pink lady house in San Francisco? Like, not happening.
They got someone is selling drugs or doing something to afford that house.
Yeah, it's Danny. Yeah. Who's a single father for a reason.
Yeah.
You would think it's Uncle Jesse, but Jesse's straight-laced.
He's straight-laced. Yeah. I really, really enjoyed that whole pageant show thing. Mm-hmm. I will say, very confused why Patti LaBelle was in this. I loved it. Very confused.
So this marks the beginning of stars watching the show and saying, I want to be on it. And I'm fairly confident what happened with this one is that I think this was like the first time somebody like asked to be on. Like we had Twiggy, who was friends with Fran, who came on. We had Cloris Leachman on earlier. We've had Dan Aykroyd, who's a friend with Fran's. I think this was literally probably the first time where somebody said, I want to be on the show.
Oh my God.
There's no reason for her to be on there other than the couple of jokes, and to also say, like, we got Patti LaBelle to be on the season finale of our show. Like, awesome. You know what I mean?
Oh my God. I need to get famous so I can just like go to a sitcom and be like, I want on an episode.
I want in. What's up?
I want in. Let me in. Pay me the $200 they'll probably pay.
And I will say this. Lizzo, I know you're listening, so yes, you can join us on a podcast.
I know you're a huge fan, Lizzo.
Listen.
We know.
I've seen your DMs, girl. They're there.
If Lizzo DM'd me, I would poop.
You heard it here. After years of not being able to, that colostomy bag goes away and Dylan can finally take a poo. But it's going to require, this is a village, people. We need Lizzo to reach out to Dylan.
We need Lizzo. Oh my God, Lizzo. Yeah. I love you. Spit in my face.
That's hot.
Okay.
Lizzo, okay. Well, while you're at it, Lizzo, can you just kind of like slap me a little bit? I'm here for it. Not like even in a sexual way. Just be like, girl.
I'll be like, the fuck up.
I'll be like this. Thank you.
Honestly, I'm kind of here for it. Okay. So sorry. We're getting so distracted. I really love though. Also this part where the little girl that is really evil in this makes Gracie sad, talks about Gracie's mother, and Gracie runs off. And I really love that Maxwell and Fran kind of tackle this issue together. And they go up to Gracie's room. I know that there's like the whole scene where they're like Fran's trying to not tell Maxwell what's going on. And
right, yeah.
They get in the room, and I really love this sentimental moment where Maxwell is like laying on the bed with Gracie, and he starts opening up and talking about Sarah. And it's so cute. Honestly, I think that was a better sentimental moment, because I don't have a whole series, just because it's like a father talking to a daughter. Yeah. And it is like a much more intimate. And he's like, opening up those layers where he's like, it's not about Gracie. It's actually about him talking about someone that he loved a lot and he lost, and being able to finally talk about that with his kids who share memories with the same woman that he loved. And
I completely agree. And I think one of the reasons why it's so impactful is because this is where the writers and Fran are really smart to say, this is not about Fran in this moment. This is about the kids and their father, and specifically Gracie. So I do like that there's this whole buildup in the scene for Gracie and Maxwell to only talk, where she's going, I'm not going to stop listening. I'm going to just stop talking.
That's
I know
funny.
I'm going to start talking right about now. Okay, go ahead. I'm done. I'm done talking. And like, you have that whole thing, because what it's doing is like, yeah, it's a funny joke, but you are subconsciously going, what is Maxwell going to say to Gracie? Like, what is this interaction going to be like? We've had this whole build up to that moment. And then Fran literally leaves the frame, and we never see her facial reactions until they're kind of done.
And she's like, cries.
She's like blowing her nose. It's so funny.
It's so good.
But it's like we're right back into the sentimental comedy portion of it. It's not just like an after school special kind of thing. And I love the way that they have Maxwell talk about this, that he's talking about her mother, and you have Gracie for the first time, and maybe any of the children for the first time, be like, why don't you talk to her about her? Like, why aren't you, I don't know these things. Like, tell me about her. And that's such a potent moment. I love this scene. I love the ending of the show. But and I love that Maxwell is like, I'm so sorry I ever put you in a position where you would forget your mother. Like, taking ownership in that moment is like, so like, it's okay, Maxwell.
It shows his character growth too. Like, old Maxwell would never have admitted that he was at fault for this, or that he had caused Gracie to never really talk about her mother, thus forget her mother. And it's clear that, like, it's not that Gracie doesn't remember her mother. It's that she doesn't talk about her mother, so she doesn't ever recollect her mother. Because at the very end, there is that scene where they're looking at that home video, and Gracie's like, I remember that. And she starts like remembering her mother, because
and what happened right after that? Because I'm not sure you saw it because you were writing.
What happened right after that is
it's a small moment, but it adds so much. There's so much emotion to it. It's just one gesture. But Fran is cuddled up with Gracie, and Gracie goes, I remember that. And Fran, immediately starts like, reaches out to Maxwell and starts like patting his arm. And just like that adds so much to this level of being like, there's multiple layers of just that little touch. That little touch is both like this is a wonderful job, like, great job, Dad, kind of thing. There's this like, this was hard for you, and I appreciate that kind of touch. There's multiple different things that in that one gesture, in addition to Gracie just saying, I remember that, which was like in itself beautiful. And right after you see just honestly, just like this pure, like, oh, I miss her feelings from like Maggie and Brighton. It's like all those different little emotional things. Like, I'm getting emotional right now because it is just so beautifully done. That in itself is exactly why I love this episode.
Yeah, no, it's a really they've really knocked it out of the park with the acting and the writing. I want to talk about a few more things though. Then we can get back into, like, I think ending our review of this, talking about that final moment. So I want to give major props to Cece here.
Oh my God.
Doing her own fucking stunts. Did you clock or catch that when she fell? She fully did that on her own. There must have been like a pad there, obviously, that she
I would hope so. Could you imagine if she was just like, and now I have a concussion?
I was just like, oh my God. Like, and you can
her feet went up in the air.
Oh, she fully fucking hit that floor, and she did that on her own. I was like, okay, most sitcoms would have had like an actor come in, fall, and she would already have been behind the couch and got up. No, she's like, no, I'm gonna do it myself. So props to Cece for doing that. But I want to talk about the hilarious chin puppet talent show at this pageant. It's so ridiculous. I love how we go from like a magic trick.
That's really impressive.
A magic trick that solidifies that in the Fran cinematic universe, magic exists, because how the fuck is she kicking Cece with those legs?
Okay, so I think it's a funny moment, all that stuff, but I think it's fairly obvious that when you look at the box that she's curled up in the one half of the box, and then because like it's just her feet and the other ones and they never move. And then all of a sudden when she kicks Cece in the butt and it's like that half, you have full legs out and she's kicking.
It's like insane, yeah.
And I was like, I'm clocking.
Yeah, it was so silly. It was silly. It was very ridiculous, but I really liked it. And but I love that their backup talent is a chin puppet singing "I Can Do Better Than You" and like singing that song.
You can do, I can do better. I can do anything better than you.
It's so good, and I really loved also that the final scene of this episode that they leave off season 1 with is the bloopers of Fran not remembering the damn song, which is so cute. I love that, you know, obviously it's like the upside down, so like your chin is they're just like your top teeth or your lower teeth and such, so that makes it even funnier when they're going mwah, 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 and doing that kind of stuff with their mouth. It looks real weird. Do you remember, okay, I'm looking this up.
I'm excited. Okay. I'm nervous.
This is a deep reference that I don't think anyone will remember.
Okay.
In 1999, there was a series of very strange movies that came out from Steve Odenkirk called...
Is this Bob Odenkirk's like...
I have no idea. But Steve Odenkirk made these. And it's called Thumb Wars. And the movie I'm specifically referring to is, I think, Thumb Wars: The Phantom Cuticle. And it is a parody of Star Wars where all the actors are literally thumbs with like digitally added on mouths. But Jabba the Hutt is a chin upside down. And I don't know why. Some deep recess of my brain remembers watching all these thumb movies that Steve Odenkirk made, and I saw this scene in The Nanny, and it unlocked a weird part of my childhood and like me being a teenager when these came out.
You were not a teenager in 99.
I was not.
I was like, oh, okay. And then I immediately went to like, I was 11. I was 11 in this.
Fully 8 years old, living my best teenager life.
You know, just because we're talking about our ages, every time I watch this episode too, I always have to remember, like, I was all of 1 year younger than Gracie in this. So like when you watch the series, I'm basically would have been the same age as Gracie. And Gracie would be around my age.
Oh my God, we're so fucking young.
This just comes right back like a rubber band.
Mine doesn't.
It's because you shed it. It's okay.
I do. Ooh, lizard people. Okay, before I don't know. You said shedding.
Okay, but it also, I don't know, when you said lizard people, it made me think of crab people. Crab.
Oh my God.
People look like crab, talk like people from South Park.
Oh my God. South Park's another one that like I get so many references from it. Had probably seen 2 episodes.
Have you seen the World of Warcraft episode?
Yes, that's one of the 2 episodes.
That's all that matters. As long as you, of all people, have seen that.
Yeah.
We can't give the sword of 1,000 truths to a noob.
And he's just sitting there like,
how do I open my inventory?
Yeah. It's so silly. Okay. I want to end off this talk of The Nanny with us talking about that sentimental final moment of how we send off season 1, where they're sitting there and they're watching this home movie of Sarah with the kids and Maxwell. Maxwell looking exceptionally attractive in that home video. because he's like playing around and being silly. But whoever they hired to play the kids when they were younger, they did a great job. Because
I was just going to say, don't they look exactly like what those kids would look like at those ages?
Yes, they looked amazing. I was like, I'm kind of wondering if like maybe it was their siblings or something. They look exactly like these kids.
No, they really did. They really did. And what I love about this is what we get. The intro into this this portion is a very small moment in the very beginning of the episode where Fran says that she, for her Mother's Day gift for her mother, she's transforming all of these old reels of family videos, which they didn't have sound, into like a VHS tape so that her mother could have it on like modern technology and be able to watch them. And so we start off with her showing actual home videos of Fran and her actual parents. And that kind of stuff. And so like them tying in that portion of her real life into this, which is kind of cool. And then it turns into Maxwell coming in with a VHS and saying, oh, you're already watching something. She goes, oh, that's not a big deal. And she pops it in there. And the kid goes, what is this? And he says, oh, this is a little Mother's Day gift for us all, which instantly you have that moment where they kind of like go, and they like go and they watch and you see the two older kids running around and like playing badminton essentially and teasing each other and all that kind of stuff. And then you have like clearly Maxwell had been playing with the two of them, right?
Yeah.
And we already have this moment earlier in the episode, like we already discussed, where you have, you know, the two older siblings talking about their mother. So it's not too important for them to have a moment interacting with the mom in the home video. Then it turns to Gracie and she's playing with like a balloon or a ball or something. Yeah. And then her mother comes over and like consoles her because I think she falls or something like that. And then they're like kind of smiling at the television or at the camera, I mean. And what's so great is the moment that Sarah shows up on there, you hear Maggie go, oh, Mom, like that. And then, I'm going to find this picture. I literally saved it to my camera roll. I made an exact photo of this. There is a moment that I think just shows how perfect these kids are at acting in the second.
You should tweet it out with the...
Here it is. I will.
Finale.
But look at Brighton's face in particular.
Oh, I know. Brighton, I think, did the best job out of the three kids. Like he went from like, even from the last episode, he can play angry, he can play sentimental, he can play stupid, he can play silly.
Yeah.
He's really good.
He really is. And in that moment, it's just, the amount of times I've watched this to know exactly what I'm going to see. And it's still like, oh, it's so good. Like, you know that Maggie's going to go, oh, Mom, and like look and like really miss her. There's an utter heartbreak about Brighton. Like he literally like stops eating his ice cream. Like he puts his spoon down and it's just like the way his mannerisms are, his face drops. And it contrasts with the way that both of them had been talking about Sarah earlier, where they were like, oh, she was so great and I loved her and all that kind of stuff, to just pure, I really miss my mom. Like both of them, but like Brighton even more so. And we heard in the very, very, very first couple of episodes of this that Brighton in particular loved his mom. She was the only one that he would listen to. He got his sense of humor from her. He feared her. Like that's what Maxwell goes, oh, they had a great relationship. He feared her. Like, but you see the admiration he had, and you know that Maggie looks like her mother and like all that kind of stuff. But just this moment in particular for me is just like chef's kiss. It's a second of television and it still affects me.
Yeah, that's like me. We're not going to obviously hit it for a very long time, but the finale of Lost, I can watch like on YouTube. I will cry. I will always cry. I don't know why. I just will. It's just like
I'll tell you,
a Pavlovian response. Like hear that music, and I'm just like, ah, like.
So that tells me Shannon doesn't die. So means I will cry.
You're fucking stupid.
But yeah, no. So just a wonderful little moment, and then we already talked about then like the little moment where Fran kind of not consoles, but just kind of reaches out and touches Maxwell's arm. And just that little pat is just like, "Meh." But that is the end of season 1.
It is.
We will have a whole show in between next week where we talk about Lost, and then when we start season 2 of both shows. But before we go into like our overarching thoughts and such, who is your MVP and your LVP for this episode?
My MVP is easily going to Fran.
Okay.
She saves the day on Mother's Day and has everyone have this emotional payoff at the very end. Clearly the hero of this episode.
Yeah.
And I think my LVP, honestly, I think everyone does really well. So I'll probably give it to who I called Barbie, Betty.
Yeah, I think there's Betty Joe and something else Joe.
Yeah, it's Betty Joe and wait, did I write it down? I did not. Betty Joe and her dumb, stupid biatch of a daughter.
And yeah.
Because I think everyone else had such a great moment. I can't really pick an LVP, but they definitely try to ruin the vibe of Fran this episode. So that I have to give the LVP to them.
No, I think that's fair.
But oh my gosh, we finished season 1 of The Nanny.
I'm really excited. And like I said, I think season 2 really is where it starts to really hit its stride. So in many ways, I'm going to sit back and say, Dylan, congratulations. You've made it through the worst episodes of The Nanny.
You know what? It was tough. It's funny because you haven't even hit the worst episodes of Lost.
Well, and again, we've talked about this multiple times, but we're talking about the difference between somebody coming in as a writer and saying, I have an idea for a drama, and this is and it's mystery and suspense and all these other things. It's so much easier to write a season of that when you have a full-fledged kind of idea of what you're going to run with. Here, it's like, well, we have to get the chemistry of like the acting going. And we're starting to see more of the facial expressions and the physicality of the comedy and this kind of slapstick, portion. And these, honestly, the reads, honey, the library is open all the time.
Oh, it's so good.
So we start to get a little bit of that in season 1, and it really settles in season 2. And then, like, honestly, if people like season 1, you haven't even seen anything yet, honey. You're going to fall in love with the rest of the show.
I can't wait.
So,
I'm really curious, like, what the main story arc of season 2 is going to be.
Mm-hmm.
I have a feeling that they're going to maybe string out this romance between Fran and you know what? Actually, I'm going to save that chatter for our season 1.
I was just going to say, I think that what would be great is I want to hear when we have our show in a couple of weeks where we talk about both the seasons. I think what we need to do, and I would love for people who are listening to this, come up with other questions that you have for us when we're talking about season 1.
Yeah.
I want us to do like what the comments are asking us, like, what was your favorite XYZ? Or what are your thoughts on this as you look back? Like those kind of things. I want to make sure that we do a breakdown of what Tyler Lyons has kept with us, which is all of like the chart of our MVP or LVPs.
Yeah.
How we rated each episode. Maybe we go back and say, what are our top 3 episodes of each
I'm down.
of the season.
I like that.
I think there's a lot of things that we want to do there. And then what we can do is come up with our half-baked theories of what are going to happen in the Nanny and
I'm
Lost
so excited for this. This is going to be a good ass episode. Okay, so while it's sad that I probably won't watch another episode of The Nanny for another 2, maybe 3 weeks, it is exciting to know that we've got some good shit coming soon. So we are now sending off The Nanny season 1. Bon voyage. And
goodbye, Nanny.
We are entering Lost, episode 21, The Greater Good. Previously on Lost. And good it was. Or was it?
Was it good for you? Because it was good for me.
Ooh.
Yes. So this is a Sayid-centered episode.
Yeah.
And we get a lot of information that helps we contextualize the timeline for
It does.
Sayid.
Yeah, it's very eye-opening to like Sayid's character.
And I have questions. I have theories.
Ooh, I can't wait.
And I have thoughts. And I don't even want to wait. I'm
Go
going
for
to
it.
tell you who my MVP and my LVP are now.
Let's go. Who is it?
LVP 100% is Jack.
Thank you. I'm taking a shot to that.
Please.
I'm literally pouring a shot right now. I'm taking a shot to that.
Wait, time out though.
What?
Can I go get like a thingy out of my fridge?
Do it.
Oh,
Do it. For those that are on audio only, I have Beef Eater pink gin because why not? And it needs to get drank. So I was like, you know what? I'll take a shot when she talks about her MVP and LVP, but she's got a seltzer. You got so excited about drinking a seltzer.
Listen, I'm about to talk shit and drink. This is like the best Sunday night ever.
Okay, so to Jack clearly being the LVP of this episode.
Cheers.
Ooh, yummy.
My MVP is going to go to Sayid. I mean, everything he does in this episode. Are you okay?
Yeah, I was just like, ooh.
The aftershocks of the shock.
Yeah.
I think that I have discovered, and this episode has really solidified it, I really don't like Jack. I really just don't. And I can respect a lot and I can understand and sympathize, but I can't always empathize, obviously. And there's always going to be, gray areas and, like this white and black and that kind of thing. Jack to me is just so egotistical and this episode is just like perpetuates it.
I think, and I obviously don't know the writers. I think they're purposely writing him to where you like him by the first episode. And by the last episode of this season, you're reflecting on the fact that people that you prop up as heroes and people that you prop up as leaders are shitty people.
Everybody's
for the
shitty.
most part. Everyone in the show is shitty. There's not been one redeemable person. Even Walt, who has been a good kid, I mean, kind of a shithead, good kid, burns the rafts because
I will say there is one person who's very redeemable.
Who?
Claire.
What's
her worst thing? Oh, I wanted to give up my child because I was manipulated into keeping him.
I would say the worst part about Claire is she is having a hard time allowing people to help her. And she has put up so many walls that it is almost detrimental to her character. She has so many people that are willing to help her raise this child and so many people that are waiting hand and foot, and she is very closed off and is like, no, I am my own person, which normally when you're off an island would be a great character trait.
Sure.
When you're on an island trying to raise a kid, I think it comes from a point of selfishness because she's like, I want to prove that I can raise this child myself.
I don't think it comes from that though. I think it comes from I got fucking kidnapped and everybody said they were going to protect me when I was pregnant. Now the baby's out. How are they going to protect two people at different times?
That's true.
I feel like a lot of it is like fucking Charlie being like, don't worry, Claire, I can help you. I'll protect the baby. And it's like, fuck off. You said that when she was about to have fucking baby and then you almost fucking died. So why don't you calm your little titties down? Because they didn't work. I would totally understand her being
you know what? You make a very good point. And if we're going with the black and white theme, I don't know if we've ever seen Claire in black, which I think is very indicative of that theory.
And it can actually, that's not true. She was wearing black in one of the episodes where they told her to get out of the sun a lot on the beach when she hadn't gone to the caves yet.
Oh, yeah, you're
she
right.
was wearing
You're right.
black, a tank
That's
top, because
true.
I made a note of that at one time. But it is something that I think is really interesting. And you know what? Can I take a little side note moment here to talk
I'm
about
just kidding,
black and
yeah.
white?
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you.
Go for it.
So what I love about, hold on.
Oh, bra issue. Is it a booby issue?
It was something bit me issue.
Oh, not the titty.
Thankfully, it's saved the titty. It just went for the fat underneath of it.
Ooh.
What up? Ooh.
Sometimes it's the best bite before you
A little
get to the
undercarriage
dinner.
action.
Before you get to the full dessert, the full dinner, baby, you got to go for the appetizer.
I have no idea how it got there. I don't even know what it was. I felt like it got bit.
You were born, and then they developed into mammary glands, and
Okay, when I was in high school, I had to play this part where the girl was literally supposed to be flat chested, and let me tell you, these little boobs were very tiny until like the past couple of years.
Wait, can we talk about this? Wait, did you think? No, sorry, this is a moment. Okay, I have a question for you. When you were younger, did you always think, I wish my boobs were bigger?
Yeah.
Okay, so, bitch, this has been a thing in my life.
Oh, I'm excited.
I will sit there. I know I'm very passionate about this because it's been a weird thing. And this relates. So I have had these moments. I can't wait to see how it does. I have had these moments where I have hated a part about my body. And I keep thinking, I wish it was this, or I want it to be that. Mm-hmm. And in 2 years, it's usually that. So I am not kidding you. I have not done a squat to save my life. I used to hate how my butt looked. I was like, I have a flat butt. People used to make fun of me all the time about my butt. They said, like, you like flat butt Dylan. They used to literally say that.
Oh, there goes FBD over there. Flat butt Dylan.
I did nothing but just be myself. And I randomly started gaining weight in my ass for no goddamn reason. I didn't do anything to earn it. Another thing in my life, I used to get made fun of my voice. So I used to get made fun of that my voice was never ever deep. Ever. Even when I hit puberty, my voice was never deep. I shit you not, almost randomly, when I was in, I think it was like a sophomore in high school, my register all of a sudden dropped. I had already hit puberty.
Yep.
And like all the signs of puberty had already been there. My register completely dropped into like a much lower. And I was like, I had been wishing that I had a deeper voice because I used to get bullied for it. Like these things, it's just weird. You said that, and I was just like,
listen. Time. So I was in a play where my character was supposed to be like relatively flat chested. And I said, I had a line that literally went like this. So for those that are watching the video, you get a little extra oomph here because you get to watch me.
She's showing her boobs.
Yes, so I'm taking off my shirt. No. And that's how we get people on YouTube and also how we get demonetized. No, I'm just kidding. So my character literally had to go, the cards aren't stacked that way and neither am I. That was, and I had to look at my boobs.
What age were you?
Not 10, sorry. I was in 10th grade. I was 15.
Could you imagine? 10. They're like, no.
And I kid
look
you
at your
not.
boobs and just like really shame yourself in this play.
That literally, I had to say.
Ew! Wait, the casting director, if you were 10, had to like check to make sure your boobs were small enough for the role. Like, yikers. Even at 15, this is kind of yikers.
Oh, this whole show is really yikers. It was yikers in 2004 when we did it. And now that I think about it, like I played in the pit. This is a show called Babes in Arms. It's a Rodgers and Hart show from like 1936 or something like that. Okay. That they revamped the script because it was outdated in the 50s. And now we are doing the version that people do is from the 50s. And let me tell you, pretty damn racist. Let me say that. And also really sexualizing of the women. I played the role that was the 15, 16-year-old girl who wanted to be promiscuous and like all that. I was really typecasted in college or in high school. And it's really funny to me. I played like all these women who were like promiscuous, who were like little sleuths, and we love them for it. But like, that's literally the role I played every single year. And it's like, hi, I'm a demisexual. Couldn't care less about sex. Well, here we are. But it's just so funny. So anyway, in that same show, I had to say this line.
Okay.
And I played in the pit of the show in 2013 or something like that. Or no, 2015. So only 6 years ago, and they still did the show. My character, her name was Terry Thompson, and she said something about like, I'll sell my body, my beautiful white body with me in it, which was like, girl, first of all, that is a whole other thing to talk about. Why did you have to say my beautiful white body? Like,
Oh, I just want to let them know that I'm white. They have no eyesight. They can't see.
like there was multiple times where this character would say something about her being like a beautiful white woman. And I was like, we really don't need to add white in here.
You're like, but the white, that's weird. Why are you? Yeah.
There were a lot of times where I was like, are we still doing the show in 2015? It just seems a little weird to me that we're doing that. Ooh. But anyway.
And now the year is 2021, and it is still a play that I've heard of. Babe of Arms. I've heard of this.
Well, and like, you know why you've heard of it? It's because I brought it up in the episode where they did the Johnny could only sing one note, and the note he sang was this.
That is where I heard
from The Nanny. So let's bring it back to the show that we're talking about. So anyway, I bring all of that up because I got bitten beneath the boob.
Welcome to Hot Mess Moments, where tangents are our middle name.
My name is Elizabeth Tangent Dixon.
That's so stupid. I love it.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit about this episode. So this is we're like fully an hour in. I haven't even started talking about the plot.
Yeah.
So this is a Sayid-centered episode. We immediately open with it taking place essentially right after the events of last episode, where Boone had died. Jack went and told Shannon and Sayid as they came back from their little romantic rendezvous. And then he packs up and he tries to find Locke. And clearly he is exhausted in many different capacities, including like he probably gave
way more blood than you're supposed to.
Like a quarts of blood away. You're on a fucking island. There's just like, he's clearly not resting. So we have one plot point, which is we need to get Jack to go to sleep.
Yeah.
So there's that plot point. We have another plot point, which is Sayid trying to see if Locke is telling the truth about certain things. And we're also getting some background in Sayid's, what I consider to be the right before he gets on a flight to go back to the United States from Australia. I'm pretty sure this is like 2 days before that. So really about a month and a half ago.
He's like freshly a semi-CIA agent. Which
begs the question, you clearly don't care about Nadia if you're going to fall for some stupid white bitch like this. So just putting that out there in this romantic sense.
Yeah, it's a bit weird. It's a bit odd. There is more backstory to Sayid that we will get like later on, but it does beg the question of morals and character drive. Like, what is his character drive if he is willing to weirdly try to go for Shannon? Maybe he has given up the hope that they will be rescued and has moved on. But if so, did you really care about Nadia then? If you're moving on that fast, it's just like any other person on this island. I'd be like, you know what? They are a good person for you to follow. Like fucking Shannon? Ooh, she's so fucking hot.
No, you know who is hot? Fucking Sayid in this episode.
Yeah.
Okay, there were multiple times. I even unmuted once to be like, Sayid's really hot. When it when we watched this.
He is.
I find him very attractive.
No, he is. Can we just say the entire cast? Naveen Andrews, first off, fucking hot. Always has been hot.
Is
Always
that
will be hot.
Sayid?
Yes, yeah, the guy that plays Sayid.
What's
The guy
he look
that
like now?
the guy that plays Jin, Daniel Day Kim, fucking hot. Destroy me.
Yes.
Yeah. Even Matthew Fox as Jack Shepherd, hot, even though you've got a weird whiny face.
I thought you were going to say a weird wiener.
He's got a really weird Jack's wiener, very weird. Could you imagine they put that in like a flashback? Well, son, you got a weird wiener. And like Jack's dad just
I can't. You know what? It'll be nice though. Someday, even though you have a weird wiener, you will find a little boonie hole.
A little boonie hole. I was waiting for it. Who loves a good boonie hole? That weird wiener.
Little boonie hole.
I love that. I hope people don't come here for a realistic review of Lost.
No. That's why we had Mike on here half a season ago. If you want a serious, like, deep dive analytical stuff, you go to Down the Couch at post show recaps. If you want some silly ass, like,
some stupid shit
commentary, you come
unspoiled but stupid shit.
Unspoiled. It's I can't find.
I wouldn't look up what he looks like now, just in case there are spoilers.
I'm just looking at images. Oh, he's cute still. Oh, it's like gray in here.
Yeah, he's very hot.
Okay.
Yes. So there's three main plot points. So there is the Shannon Sayid storyline. There is the Claire and the baby trying to figure out, or Charlie and the baby trying to figure out how to put this baby, to stop this baby from crying. And then there is this through line of Locke kind of in there a little bit, but it kind of is merged with the Sayid, Shannon, Jack story. So there's only really 2.5 like plots that are kind of going on this episode.
So, but there's like little splintering, right? So
yeah, they splinter off.
So like, once again, all the women are just here to play supporting stuff for the men to continue on with the main plot points, where Kate is trying to get Jack to go to sleep and Sun is trying to get Jack to go to sleep, and Shannon wants revenge, and so she makes Sayid go do it. Like, I mean, except for at the very end, which we'll get to. But what I think is interesting, and I further want to let's talk about Jack a little bit. He starts off the episode. They're doing the ceremony for Boone, and Sayid asks if Shannon wants to say anything, and she says no. Or Jack asks Shannon if she wants to say anything, which, like, what a dick move, honestly. Why are you going to ask the one family member at the little ceremony? Why don't you pull her aside beforehand and ask? Not in front of everybody, because, like, I've spoken at quite a few funerals. I've been asked to do readings and such. But I wouldn't be able to do that if I wasn't given prior notice to prepare something or to to read or whatever the case is. It's not something that you just like, oh, you know what? I will say something about the person I just lost that I was closest to on this island and has been kind of a protector that I've abused and blah, 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 right? I mean, like, there's a lot going on there. So that's the first strike against Jack in this situation. So then Sayid starts to talk about Boone, and then he says, like, you know, Boone always wanted to do what was best for us, like, as the greater good. He was brave. He was trying to help us. And this is when Locke comes out of nowhere. And as we know, Locke had like GTFO'd a couple episodes ago after he brought Boone back. And or last episode?
It was last episode. I wouldn't have correct you, but I was like, didn't want to interrupt you.
No. I all of a sudden was like, it's just, I have no sense of time.
Just like they do on the island, apparently.
Yeah. No, it was 2 episodes ago when he brought Boone back, right? Because last episode was all about Boone dying.
Oh, you're right. You are right. I was wrong.
So anyway, So he wasn't in the last episode at all, because 2 episodes ago it was
Or he
the
like hits
locks.
the hatch and he's like, ah!
Yeah, and then the light turns on. So anyway,
Ex Machina.
yes. So what we see here is he comes back. He's still got all the blood on his shirt, and he says, he was trying to help us. We found this plane. There was a radio in there, and he was trying to radio somebody, and he died trying to save and protect all of us.
Yep.
And Jack calls him a liar and runs over and tries to like basically beat him up, kill him kind of thing. That gets pulled off easily because, again, he's lost pretty much all of his blood and he's not sleeping and he's done.
He's very anemic looking.
Yeah. Which I just like, anyway.
I want to give a shout out to the makeup department though, because like I was trying to find like where you could see the makeup. Could not see the makeup. That clearly made him look very pale and made his lips look pale. And
but
all
also like had these huge bags under his eyes and everything.
They did a great job.
They did
on
the
makeup
most.
Department.
They really did the most. Good job.
They were killing it.
Honestly. So Jack calls him a liar in front of everybody, attacks him, that kind of thing. And so this sets off Shannon, and Shannon is convinced this means that Locke killed him. And I want revenge. And so Sayid, I want you, is that something you can do for me? Because you said you would do anything for me and this is what I want. And so Sayid uses his like interrogation background to work with Locke, make Locke bring him to the airplane because he wants to see if, maybe there's parts of the transceiver we could use for the raft. Yeah. But I also like this was him really trying to figure out what is the truth in this situation.
Yeah.
And they know that there's something about a hatch. And so what's great is we have this really intense scene between him and Locke where they're questioning and interrogating each other and being very open about that they're doing it to each other.
Yeah.
And Sayid says, well, I trust you a little bit more if you didn't have a gun that nobody knew that you had and you were concealing that. And so Locke's like, okay, here you go. Here's the gun and all that kind of stuff. And here's where I found it. This is what we found, blah, blah, blah. And Locke is 95% truthful with everything that he's saying. Oh, I had a Charlie horse. My leg was hurting. That's a pretty simplified way of saying that your leg was busted because you used to not be able to walk and all of a sudden you can when you're here.
Yeah.
But then we get the big revelation here.
Mm-hmm.
And I called it.
Was correct. I was sitting on it. I was like, ooh.
I called it.
You did. Your theory was right. You did that. You did that.
So Locke says you tried to triangulate the signal to figure out where it was coming from, blah, 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 blah. And then you were knocked unconscious. It was me. Blah, 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 blah. And this is after he gives the gun to Sayid. So Sayid points it to his neck and says, why would you tell me this now and not earlier? And he's like,
you better be not telling the truth here.
Yeah. And he can tell that he's telling the truth.
Yeah, because we learned this little superpower of Sayid's because of his work working as an interrogator and a torturer, that he can tell when someone's lying to him. I
don't think this is a skill. I think it's a power.
Oh, you do? Okay.
In the similar way that we know that there's something with Walt being able to like essentially summon things or make things happen the way he wants to. I think what we're going to find is that some of these people, if not all of them, have some level of power or mystic force or whatever around them. And I think that Sayid's training and such certainly helped him. But my theory is... he actually has some kind of truth-telling power.
We'll touch on that. If you think that that's the truth, I'm going to ask you later on. Actually, I'll ask you now.
Ask me.
What powers do you think might be sitting within the group, if you think that this is true?
Okay, so there is obviously something with Locke having a better understanding by looking at people, getting to know them a little bit. Like so I don't think he's like an Edward Cullen from Twilight can read people's minds kind of situation. but I do think that there's something that he's overly intuitive. He knows a lot of details. And whether that's because he's formed this special connection with the island in his mind and like the island's feeding this information to him, or if he just knows it, that's like some kind of power. Yeah. I do think that Claire's clearly powerful in some way, or her baby is. I don't
Okay.
know what they are, but it's something that the others are clearly after. And the other people, I don't think they've shown anything yet for that, but there's clearly some kind of magnetism of why they'd be after her.
Yeah. Okay.
Or the baby. I think that Sun will get to a point where she does have like, I don't know if it like, I feel like it's something with like growing or healing kind of stuff, powers and such. Like, I feel like it's a combination of using Eastern medicine and growing farm techniques and such. But I feel like she's
Okay.
kind of like somebody who can like help provide for the group. I think that Jack doesn't.
Have
I
a
think
power.
that I don't think he has a power. I think there were things that people. I think that there are some people who do have these things. I also think. Well, there's so much to talk about. I think that.
Welcome to Lost.
Well, okay, so to make a slight detour, right?
Yeah.
We find out at the very end of all the flashbacks that Sayid makes them reschedule his flight.
He does.
So that he can make his friend have a proper Muslim burial, not be cremated, because Muslim men and women are not supposed to be cremated. They're supposed to be buried. And so he wanted to ensure that happened. And so he says, reschedule my flight then. So that tells me he wasn't supposed to be on the flight.
He wasn't. Nope.
And so I do think that there are some people who weren't supposed to be on the flight and some people who were, or he was supposed to be on the flight, and these were the factors that got him to be on said flight. Otherwise, he would have been on the wrong flight. He never would have crashed. But because the CIA or whoever it was and weren't going to bury his friend, that is the force that gets him onto the flight.
Yeah, I want to say a quote that I think was powerful and like was kind of supposed to be punched, like a punchy quote that was said during this. And Sayid is saying it to Kate, and it's there's always a choice. And he like really hones that in with Kate, where Kate's just like, this is out of your control. This is like, it's basically going on and on about like fate. And he is like, no. Well, it's not fate. There is always a choice. You always, whatever your decision is in life, you made that choice, which is interesting because up until this point, we have been given out fate. It is fateful that we're here. This is all fate. Like we are meant to be here. There's a purpose. And this is the first episode that we've gotten where Sayid is counter to that point and is like, no. It's not fate. I am deciding why I am here. And it is because of my choices that have led me to this current path.
There is one other episode that goes along with this.
There is, yeah.
Which is the numbers episode when everybody is, there's no such thing as fate. There's no such thing as a curse. There's no. And the moral of the story is there is such thing as a curse, or at least that somebody is validating Hurley's point of view with that.
Yes.
This is the first time where everybody is doing the opposite, where they're saying there is a fate thing, and the main character is saying, no, it's about our choices. The moral of the story here is, ¿por qué no los dos? Why can't it be both? Why can't the fate be? I don't believe personally in real life in predetermined fate, but I do believe that things are fateful based off of your decision-making patterns. Like you are fated for something based off of how you make decisions. To bring this back to Twilight once again.
Oh God, here we go.
Alice can see the future of what's going to happen based off of people's choices. But if they choose something different, their future changes.
That's why it's called a choice. Yes. So to pick it back up where we were, there is a really funny scene that we need to talk about. We did gloss over where Locke sits down to have a conversation with Shannon. And Shannon at this point, she's in shock. She's not talking to a lot of people. This motherfucker Locke goes to talk to Shannon with the shirt on that still has Boone's blood on it.
Thank you.
It's so dark. Like, you were in the jungle for how long and you didn't think to wash the boon blood off your shirt?
The boonie blood.
The boonie blood. Damn it, he's dead now, so we can't make those jokes anymore. Yes, we can. Fuck it.
Oh man. Oh, Boonie.
But that is so dark, though. Like,
no, it really is.
Read the room, Locke. Like,
wash your damn fucking shirt. Also, don't we all have like a bunch of clothes that you stole from everybody else? Like, you couldn't just change the shirt at this point. Like, come on.
Yeah. Or
but then my other favorite part about this scene is he gives her the bag that Boone was using. And he goes, I haven't gone through it, like really defensively. And I was like, now I'm going to think that you did go through it. I wasn't thinking about it before, but it's like I've played too much Among Us when someone's like, oh, the body was in the showers. I wasn't in the showers now. And you're like, I didn't think you were, but now you're really like sus. So like that to me was like exactly what Locke did.
Yeah. So that's basically what happens to the lead, because we have that scene with Sayid and Locke at that airplane.
And I think the other part of this too is that Locke said, I did it for the greater good here. Again, the greater good, where he's saying none of us are thinking logically. You're thinking, oh, I want to get off this island. But there were things on this island that are leading people to their deaths. And you want to find the signal of something. And there are clearly other people on this island. There are people who were trying to kill us. And like, you're just going to be led further into the island to be killed.
Yeah, his point, I think the point he was trying to make was that the French woman signal was fully about the sickness and like the people were dying. And he's like, why would you lead people to death? That makes no sense.
Correct.
Do you buy that? Do you buy that as his reasoning? Or do you think he was telling the truth? Or do you think he was lying?
We've heard him now a couple of times say, specifically when they were trying to figure out who burned the raft and they thought it was Jen, he said there were people who are trying to kill us. We can't turn on each other and that kind of thing. I do believe ultimately that he is still good. I don't think that he's an other like I thought maybe he would be, but I do believe that he knows things about the island that we still haven't been trying to been privy to. Yeah. And he still knows that there's much more he needs to learn about this island. And he understands the island like nobody else does, which is why we get the quote from Sayid at the very end of this episode where he says, I believe John Locke is our best person to help us survive this island.
Yeah.
Not to escape this island, but to survive this island. And I think that that's a really important distinction because the whole episode leading up to that, there's this guise of like, the raft's almost done. And we have this whole little conversation between Walt and Michael. What happens if we die out there and we're not going to die? And it's like, yes, you fucking are. Like, I'm sorry.
He's like, are we going to get attacked by a shark? And it's like, he's just like, oh, yeah, no, we're going to be completely fine. I'm like, do you think you're going to really be fine on this raft? Like, do you really? I don't know.
It's just, it's really interesting. Like, I understand the need or the want to like go out and try to find some kind of salvation off the island. But I also understand that literally you haven't seen any sort of aircraft. Any aircraft you have seen has been because they've already crashed on this island. You know that a boat has crashed onto this island because of the French woman.
Yep.
This is not a place that people find accidentally. And if they do, they're already here. And this isn't a place that you are going to, like, with all these bits of information, I would be thinking, it's not about escaping this island. It's about figuring this island out so that we can best survive here. And then maybe we figure out how to get off of it once we understand the island. That's why Sayid, I really think, this compounds the MVP for me, is that he sees what the benefit is with Locke. And he knows that there are things that Locke is hiding. And Locke knows that Sayid's got his number because at the very end of the episode, he says, you're going to tell me everything about the hatch. And he said, what hatch?
Take me to the hatch.
He said, you're going to take me to it. You're going to tell me everything you know about it.
He's like, I know you're fucking lying.
And what? So that is, I think, going to be really interesting to see So now we definitely know that Sayid knows about the hatch. He's likely going to be taken there. What's going to happen? It's a lot.
It's going to be interesting. But we have the Shannon moment where so Shannon is pretty pissed off, obviously, at Locke. She blames Locke for the death of Boone. Jack also blames
she blames Locke because of Jack.
Yeah, Jack's like, I treated Boone based off of Locke's lie.
Wait, let's get into this.
Here we go in, girl. I knew you were gonna.
Okay. Jack, what would have changed if you found out, oh, I'm sorry, my legs weren't working, and instead of falling off of a cliff, he fell off of a cliff in an aircraft? How was that any different? How is that changing how you are going to treat this person? For all intents and purposes, he told the truth. There's literally nothing you could have done differently.
What was also
one thing you would have done differently?
What was his, I think, what I found weird. Okay, so in his mind, he's like, I didn't treat him for a crushed leg. I treated him for a fall. But
it was a fall.
All you had to do was look at his leg, because you'd have to do a full body analysis anyway to check any cuts and bruises. You would clearly see that his leg is crushed. So you'd have to treat him for a crushed leg. Like he fully had to like pull the leg. So he knew that, like,
on top of the fact that literally son tried to stop you from giving your own fucking blood to him. Like, if anything, what you did was prolong the death process and made him suffer more.
Absolutely. Yeah.
He would have died quicker if you weren't piling your own blood into him. And in the process, you weakened yourself and likely opened yourself up to any kind of communicable shit he had in his blood. Because I'm still convinced it wasn't a one-way street. Because I don't know how the fuck you make it just a one-way street.
Girl, the science was loosey-goosey on that one.
It sure were. Okay, but here, wait. What was it? Oh my God. I was watching a Dr. Mike video and like somebody literally in like
Dr. Mike just come on the episode.
That's not a joke, bitch. I would love Dr. Mike to come on an episode and talk about the medical shit. Hi, Dr. Mike. Big fan. I also live in New York. I live in New York. Let's get together.
He listens to us.
Yeah, he's a big fan. He and Lizzo, BFFs, listening to the show. And then Fran Drescher, Charles Shaughnessy, come on, our biggest fans.
We got you, girl.
No, but it makes no sense. There's literally nothing he would have done differently, except for maybe he wouldn't have been so impulsive and maybe he would have listened to other people, but except for we know that he wouldn't because he's a piece of shit, egotistical doctor who has a complex.
Oh, go in, girl. It's true, though. It's true.
I have to get this out this week because Tyler's a huge fan of Jack. And so.
Well, you don't know how it ends. You don't know. Maybe Jack doesn't even survive. You don't even know. Like, you don't know what the hell happened season 1 finale. Shit's crazy. But
they all die.
You never know. Clearly, we were shown that like this show has no problem killing people off. So
what if they all die and then they are the others for the rest of the season or series?
You literally never know.
Okay, here's my other theory.
This show will surprise you. I will always let you know that.
Okay, are the others vampires? And if they're out in the water, like in the sun, do they sparkle?
Absolutely, yes, bitch. You clocked it. No, they don't.
Are there wolves?
No, just kidding. I made that face like.
When Walt hits puberty, is he going to turn into a little wolf?
That would be weird, but you're right. It all comes back to Twilight. Twilight was the blueprint, even though it came out after this.
I was just going to say, Stephanie Meyer just ripped off Lost. But then made it about hot people like being together forever against the Volturi.
Yes. Okay. So we're getting very distracted. Let me just bring us back. So Shannon points a gun at Locke. She steals the key from Jack.
Yep.
Steals a gun. Thoughts on this moment for Shannon's character development? Because I don't think past Shannon would have had the gumption to go steal a gun and point it at someone and show that she was willing to pull the trigger. Like she
I
was
think she would have.
Yeah, no, she fully was going to fucking kill Locke.
No, I
which,
mean, like, I think past
like,
Shannon would have done this. We have
you
seen
think she would have?
100%. She was allowing her
Okay.
boyfriend to beat the shit out of her brother. She was embezzling money essentially and like abusing her brother and all these other people for money. She clearly has a sadistic,
Ooh, go in, girl.
sociopathic like nature. I think that maybe it manifested itself in the first time instead of having other people carry out this shit, that she was like, oh, I'm going to do it since nobody else will. I think that maybe in the past, if other people weren't going to do it, she just found other people to manipulate to do things for her.
Yeah.
So I do think that this has always been
sense.
there, but I will agree with you that this is probably the first time where she's like, fuck other people, I'm handling it myself. So like that is the difference, I think, in this situation.
And she gets pretty pissed at Sayid for stopping her. And even he's like, I think I made a mistake. And Kate's like, you're a fucking idiot.
Can he break up with her? Like, oh my God.
Why are they together? That's what I want to know. Why?
It literally makes no sense. It literally makes no sense. They have no
chemistry. And the actors have no chemistry. There's
they
like
really
no,
don't.
There's
really
no
don't.
chemistry between these two actors. Like, it's just a weird fucking relationship that makes no sense.
I really no. I'm just like not a fan of it. Writing wise, we all know that part of this is me like really joking about Shannon. Like I really don't like Shannon, but like I make a lot of jokes here. It literally makes no sense. Like it's from a writing perspective.
Yeah.
It's like remember that one episode where all of a sudden Kate and Jack were like,
that was so
and it came out of nowhere. Like this is a similar thing where I'm like, the writers clearly were like, I'm gonna write this episode, you write the next one, and then you write the third one, and let's just like see where like the way you wrote it is so different from how I did it. Like let's have some continuity here. Let's have a build up. Let's have some exposition.
Agreed. Agreed completely. And I'm glad that we have never since that moment had a weird Kate Jack thing since then. It's been
instead we just get Kate like having no autonomy as a character.
Yes. She is literally a shell of a human. Okay.
Yeah.
So we need to talk about the baby. We need to talk about this.
Before we get to the baby, here's another thing because it is related to Kate and Jack. Kate drugs Jack with sleeping pills. And she was like
immediately.
Which like, bitch,
he is anemic.
Okay, I know that he's anemic. I know he has no blood, and I know that this would run right through him, okay? In what world has any sleeping pill ever worked, A, and B, did it so quickly, even if he had half the amount of blood he's supposed to, which scientifically
you're like,
would
sign
not
me
be,
up for that motherfucking sleeping
which
pill.
like scientifically he would not be living if he had half of his blood. That was just the way I said that. But it was just like, he was like, what's happening?
And then he fucking falls, or he like falls over, and she's just like, I did that. Like,
and she goes, good night. And I was like,
because she does that. She just says, I did that.
she does like a Nicki Minaj. so
the like coughing laugh.
Wow. Okay, so now let's move to Claire and the baby. So the baby
is crying,
but she also like isn't sleeping. Wow, no one's sleeping. Because she's afraid to basically like not have the baby in her sight and like not be able to protect him for all the reasons that we kind of talked about a little earlier. So Charlie convinces her, go to sleep. I will take care of your child. It'll be fine. And so then she finally gives in, allows him to carry the baby. What a shitty human being. If I clearly was sitting there thinking, I don't want anybody to carry my baby away from me, let her sleep and let you just watch the baby right next to her. So when she wakes up, baby's still there. Baby's still crying, blah, 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 blah.
It's also, I found it very weird. And this is why I didn't like this moment. It's very weird how she's like very steadfast and then is just so easily convinced. She's like, okay, fine. I'm like,
I think part of this is like honestly because of how exhausted she is. Like
Maybe, yeah.
like I wasn't so bothered by that. I was more bothered by like clearly this mother is having a very legitimate but like
Yeah.
reaction to like being away from her baby. So you're like, don't worry, I will walk along the beach away from you with your baby, like while you're sleeping.
And
That
she's
is not what she needs.
Yeah.
Like if she's tired enough and she truly believes that you're going to be right there and be able to protect the baby and that she's right next to the baby, so if anything's happening she can wake right up and be there, like the best thing to do is allow her to fall asleep while the baby is still crying.
Yeah.
And like try to soothe the baby right next to her, because first of all, parents are going to have to learn how to sleep through their baby's cries anyway, so there's
True.
that. And secondly, when I say sleep through, let me take a step back. I'm not advocating that parents don't attend to their crying children, their babies at night.
You're fully advocating ignore your children.
But it's like the self-soothing thing that like parents eventually like do or whatever. But regardless, some parents, not all parents. But it is something that I think is like really interesting that like they chose for Charlie to be like, all right, I'm going to walk far away from you now. And then
I was gonna point out, I was like, can we all go to a Hurley concert with him singing?
Excuse me, that was a massacre. No.
It was so cute.
It was cute. It just wasn't like I wouldn't pay money for it.
He's like, all right, stabs the thing in the beach. This is all
Time
I
to
got.
pull out the big guns.
Pull the big guns. Da na 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 na. Is that what he sings? Oh da 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 da. I can't remember.
I feel good. Da, 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 da,
is that what he sings?
I knew that I would now. I don't know.
I truly can't remember the song, but whatever he sang, I was here for.
I think it was I Feel Good. Because then he goes, ba, 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 and then he goes, well, that's all I got. And then like picks up the spear, walks away.
Just walks away.
And then we find that the one voice that the baby is really like finds soothing is Sawyer's. Which is adorable. And so at the very end of the episode, we see Claire stumble across Sawyer reading some kind of auto magazine. and every time that he stops talking, the baby cries. Basically Charlie is like, keep talking. And so the hope here, of course, is that Sawyer's going to talk the baby to sleep.
Yes, which I think is hilarious.
But
that's literally it. Like there's
not much there.
Yeah, it's more for flavor. But I do want to give time for the flashback.
Yes.
We did not talk about that.
So the flashback is also really interesting. So we get to see more information. Again, that this is more recent. We find out that he is being detained in Heathrow in the beginning of, which is the main airport in London. And it's funny that he's detained in London and the two people he's talking to are Australian and American. So I was like, what the fuck is this right off the bat?
Yeah, it was weird.
Made no sense. Like as soon as the Australian guy started speaking, I was like, if they fucking try to play this off like he's English, I'm going to like fucking freak out. And then he's like, in Melbourne. And I was like, okay, at least he went Australia. Like, all right. So anyway, they basically say that there's been a whole bunch of C4 that has been stolen and that they know that it's from this terrorist cell. And they know somebody who knows Sayid, who's a part of the cell. They want him to like connect with this guy in Melbourne, I think, not Sydney.
Yeah. No, I think it's in Sydney.
No, it isn't Sydney.
Yeah, because they all eventually fly out of Sydney.
They do, but I thought originally it was in Melbourne, but then they went to Sydney. You're right. I think they were in Sydney. Regardless.
He's in Sydney, yeah.
So they said Melbourne for something else. So they said, we want you to basically find out where the C4 is, and then we can like get it back before other people are killed, innocent people are killed for another attack. And so they basically said like, and if you help us, we'll tell you where Nadia is. And that she's still alive. We know that you've been tracking her, and we know that someone who has been moving around as much as you have is either because you're looking for something or you're trying to run from something. And we think you're looking for her, and we will tell you where she is. We'll give you all the information, but first you got to help us like get this information. So we see him go to Sydney. He is at a mosque praying, and he knows his friend is with him. who's very faithful as well. And when they walk out, they reconnect, and the friend's like, oh, I'm doing honest work as a tree cutter, and like, you should come over. And they go over to this place, and so Sayid is there with two other people, or Sayid and his friend are there with two other people, and they're like, oh yeah, Sydney's really expensive. The three of us have to share this flat. And so they're smoking, and he realizes that the smoke is not setting off the smoke detector. So he realizes, oh, there must be a bug in here.
Well,
Or
I
something.
also in this, no, you're right. And in this scene, I just need to call out, I am sexually attracted to when film and TV feature a video game in their film and TV, and it's a real video game, and they are actually referring to what they play. You know what I'm talking about, when like a video game and they're like playing with the Dreamcast controller, and they're like,
but it's like a
PlayStation.
GameCube, and you're like,
Yeah.
what? Yeah.
Yeah. So they are playing Half-Life, which
Oh.
great video game. If you've never, anyone that's listening right now, if you've never played Half-Life or Half-Life 2, absolutely play it if you're a fan of FPS games.
Yeah.
10 out of 10. It's an amazing game.
The more recent one that I always think of is when in Avengers Endgame, they're playing Fortnite. And like Thor is in his home, and they're like, Noob Masters back on, making fun of things. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Sorry,
so,
I just want to talk about it because I loved it. I was like, oh my God, Half-Life.
Ah!
And they refer to it too. They're like, you kill the zombies with a crowbar, which is a thing you actually do in the game. So I was like, okay.
Oh yeah, they're
actually
like,
played the game.
but you can't kill the big guys with it. It's only the zombies. Yeah, that's right.
Which is a thing that's actually in the game.
So we get the sense that there's like the leader is one of the other flatmates of this like little cell.
Yep.
And Sayid knows that there's some kind of bug up there in the smoke detector, which at first I thought was him destroying evidence from the CIA people to be like, let's have an honest conversation and show that I'm on your side. And then I think this time was his way of trying to flex and say, I know what y'all are about. I want in, is kind of like a means of getting in. And that's when we see that, like, I don't think this was a coincidence that you ran into him. I think that it's fate, because they're so faithful in their non-Islamic ways. Like, this is not, and I want to like just take a second to say here, like, I know that this must have been a really controversial like storyline to a certain extent in 2000, 3 or 4, whenever this came out.
Yeah.
Considering, the atmosphere with which people were talking about people generally from like the Arab world and people who were Muslim, and so in terrorist attacks and all that kind of stuff. And so that's why I think it's like really interesting to have the storyline, because is something that would have been on people's minds a lot, and people would have been responding to, I'm sure, a lot in this episode. So he essentially has infiltrated this little cell. He finds out that from his friend that his friend is supposed to be the martyr for the upcoming attack, which will use the C4.
Which is so sad.
Excuse me. And his friend discloses that he doesn't really want to do it. He doesn't really believe in it. Like, he originally had joined as a means of like trying to like get revenge for the way that they killed his wife I'm pretty sure it's his wife.
I think it's his wife. Yeah. Or the love of his life.
Right. And that this was, but he's like, but I don't believe in killing innocent people because Islam is based off of peace. I would say out of all religions, Islam is actually the only one that literally the worst thing that you can do is disrupt the sanctity of human life. It's very peaceful, this religion. And you look at the history, all religions have a really dirty past, but it's always really rich to me when people claim to be Christian and are like, well, Christianity is so peaceful. I'm like, yeah, the Crusades and genocides across the world, and like, World War II with the fucking Nazis exterminating Jews and other people was like super peaceful in the name of Christianity. But anyway, that's a side note. So it's just like a really interesting moment for this character. And Sayid tells them, hey, he has to carry this out, but he doesn't want to. Can we make sure that he gets like protected here, essentially.
Yeah,
And
and
they're
they're-
like, and they're not about it. They want him to carry out the attack so that they can make sure, so they can find where the C4 is. And so they make Sayid convince him, his friend,
It's so fucked. But I mean, it
to
makes
kill
sense for the
himself.
mission.
Makes
But-
sense for the mission.
Well, yeah, it does. Yeah, it's sad. It's really sad.
It
puts
is.
it puts Sayid in a weird place, but he chooses obviously his own personal mission because he clearly loves Nadia so much that he's willing to, convince his friend to
So,
kill him.
and he says, and Sayid says, I'll do it with you as a means of convincing him. And like, we owe it to those that we've loved and have lost to, make sure that they don't die in vain, and that the people who are responsible, yes, a few innocents will die, but it's for the greater good that we kill these other people. And so that's how he convinces his friend to do it. They get told, oh, randomly, it's time. They get basically put in like, it looked like a mail van. And so they were putting on male uniforms. And when they get in there, Sayid says to his friend, hey, I'm working with the CIA. I'm giving you a 10-minute head start. Run as far away as you can, and you'll be saved. And then we'll go from there. And his friend gets really upset about it. He said, but you strung me along with like this because of your feelings for a woman who's still alive. Like no one's even been killed. Like you lied to me, all this other stuff. And like, it's so sad because he had like literally had convinced his friend to die for this cause, and his friend's so conflicted and obviously had come to peace with dying, that the idea of running from this just doesn't seem like an option for him. So he kills himself in the van.
It's really dark.
Which I need to also say, in one of the worst potential ways of doing it.
Yeah, because he does it like right under here.
He does it under here, which scientifically, and I'm not advocating that anybody ever kill themselves, but scientifically, if you shoot yourself from down here in the jaw, it is one of the slowest ways to die because you rarely hit your brain in the way that you're supposed to. And instead, you get to sit there and think about, without being able to move, your choice to do that until you finally die.
Yeah.
It is horrific.
Yeah.
So this happens, and then Sayid obviously helps the CIA recover everything. And they say, well, we're going to, because there's no one here to claim your friend's body, we're going to burn it. And he said, well, no, it needs a proper burial. They give him all the information for Nadia, and then he makes them change the flight so that he can claim his friend's body and bury him properly. And that is pretty much the flashbacks there.
Yeah. And so what we learn from that flashback is that Sayid is a man who will make the tough choice if needed.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a man who, I guess we're supposed to think, what are his motivations? Because we're in the flashback shown that he loves Nadia enough to do all of this. But in the present day, he does seem to care about Nadia, but like, is willing to like go for another girl. Maybe he's just a guy that's like that. Maybe he has multiple loves. Maybe he's polyamorous and
there's also a part of me that like, I don't know if he romantically loves Nadia. There's a part of me that like, there's something there that he feels very drawn to her and protective of her.
Maybe, yeah.
And there's a part of me that's like, he's clearly after her and like wants to make sure that she's okay. And I'm sure maybe some of it could end up being romantic. And I'm sure a lot of it feels like that. But I also feel like it comes back down to that episode, his first episode, where we're really trying to figure out like, what is their background? They went to like elementary school together.
Yeah.
Like there must be something deeper there than just the superficial. We chose different paths and you're working for the state and the state is awful and I'm trying to escape that and make life better for other people. Like that seems like a really weird, just like, oh, but I love you and I want you to escape. No, like there's something deeper there which I'm sure we haven't been told yet. So to me, I'm sure that there's this part of him that I don't know if this is necessarily romantic love as much as it is like some deeper need.
I can see that.
To connect with her.
No, that actually makes more sense. And when you put it in that context, maybe he doesn't love Nadia in like you said, a romantic way. He loves her as if it's like someone he needs to care for
and protect.
Yeah. So cool. That is episode 21, The Greater Good. The next episode of Lost. We're not going to talk about the other two that are part 2. It's called Born to Run.
Okay.
What do you who do you think it's about, and what do you think it's about?
Okay, hold on. I gotta think about this. I think it's gonna be a Kate-centered episode.
You are correct.
You know why? Because I started thinking about the various different terms of run, born to run, and she's been on the run. So that's why
she has been, yeah. And then I will say Exodus part 1 and part 2 are various flashbacks. So it is not a singular character centric. It is, you are getting flashbacks of random characters.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
It's really good. I can't wait. Okay, so let's get into you already said your MVP and WP. Let's get into viewer comments.
Wait, I didn't say the rating for this episode.
Oh, yeah. Tell your rating.
So my rating for this episode is like a 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
I thought it was a good episode, but it wasn't like blown away by it, but it was solid.
Yeah, I thought it had pretty moments. Like I liked the set dressing of the rain with Shannon pointing the gun at Locke. I think that's more of an iconic scene, but just because of like it looks really cool. But other than that, yeah, it's kind of forgettable. So we have 2 comments that I want to point out. One of which from Tyler Lyons, who will be joining us next week.
That I'm so excited for.
Yeah. He says, y'all got to do an off-season podcast of a Brant Steele throwing the cast of Lost and the Nanny into the Hunger Games. That would be fun. We should absolutely do that.
Okay.
Maybe we can do that as a stream.
I was just thinking it would be fun to do the season wrap-up thing as we did, but like before we start season 2, if you and I did a co-stream on our Twitches, which is twitch.tv/Dylan and twitch.tv/AugustaWind11, where we do a Brant Steele and have commentary about it.
Let's do it. That'd be fun.
Let's do it. Okay.
My one fear is I know people will try to spoil. And my fear is if we stream it, we might have a few bad actors come in being like, oh, this person like may have died here, but they died like this, or they do this.
What I will make sure to do is, first of all, I won't be looking at your chat if I'm also streaming. So what I will do on mine, first of all, we will have right in our titles, no spoilers. And if you spoil anything, I'm literally, it's an insta ban. I'm never letting you come back into my chat. I don't care. Like it is an insta ban.
Yeah.
I don't care if you have been subbed to me from the very beginning of time. I don't care if you're a mod of mine. You will be banned permanently. I will never let you come back.
Yeah.
If we make that abundantly clear a few times, then like, I think
we're good. I think we're good. I went through all of Danganronpa. I never got spoiled. So we're good.
I think we're good.
And then Angela says, not me losing it when Dylan says thoughts on Boone as a whole after Beth's whole Booney hole moment. They were too damn close together. You know what? I really want to be close to the Booney hole as well. So I honestly feel that.
You know who also wants to be close to the Booney hole?
Jack.
Rosalie from Twilight, because they're married in real life.
Because they're married in real life. It always comes
Which,
back
by the way, that
Twilight.
was a really funny moment. I was going back and forth with Angela in the comments where she was like, "No, Rosalie was with Emmett, who was a different actor," and I was like, "No. It's like I meant in real life that they're married." And she was like, "That makes much more sense."
And I hate that it always comes back to Twilight. So yeah, this is our wrap up of season 1 of The Nanny. And next episode, you're getting a jam-packed one. We're going to be covering 3 episodes of Lost. It'll likely be a very long episode because I think we're going to have to devote like 20 to 30 minutes per episode.
Yeah.
Because of everything that happens within each one. So I mean, it might still be an hour and a half. It might be 2 hours. It might be even 2.5 hours if you go on long tangents, because we're going to be here with Tyler. So,
and here's the thing. So Tyler's a huge, huge super fan. For those that don't know who Tyler is, he's one of my co-hosts for my weekly Meltdown. And he's a big fan of the show. He's been keeping all the logs and the tracks of our LVP or MVPs, our ratings, all that kind of stuff. So he is a friend of the show, an expert podcaster, and I'm excited to hear. Lost is his all-time favorite show, which is fun because his partner, Tim, his favorite show is The Nanny. So our podcast is like perfect for them. And so when I met Tim a couple weeks ago, or like a month ago now, he was like, I hear you really like The Nanny. And I was like, oh yeah. So like Tim and I immediately headed off because of The Nanny.
That is hilarious.
Yes.
Cool. Well, let's send off, and we will see you all next week. This has been a lovely episode of Hot Mess Moments, and until next week, bye.
Bye with your little boonie holes.
Oh, tighten up and
pucker up, baby.
Bye.